Thank you, everyone, for joining us out there today. I'm very happy to host my good friend, Chairman of the House Veterans Committee, Congressman Marc Takano of California, for a conversation on veterans issues. Of course, I'm Marc Veasey, Congressman for the 33rd Congressional District here in Dallas.
Recording in progress.
Excuse me. And I want to thank Chairman Takano for joining us here today. I have just a few words to kind of get us started. Really just thank all of our veterans. Particularly this week, because this is the week as we talk about our country's past and future. And I remain committed to making sure that veterans have timely access to health benefits that they've earned and deserve, as well as honoring vets for their valiant services. I know that many parades around the country are going to be taking place here in a couple of days to honor our veterans. The Dallas-Fort Worth area is home to about 2% of the total veterans population. So it remains critical and crucial that we continue to provide and update benefits for the vets that call Dallas-Fort Worth home. And I'm happy to see that Garland VA Medical Center has been running smoothly since it opened last year, a project that I supported along with my good friend, Colin Aldred, who represents the 32nd Congressional District in Dallas. Because seriously, I mean, it's projects like these that are key to making sure that vets have the healthcare needs that they meet, that we meet all healthcare needs, particularly as the Dallas-Fort Worth area continues to grow as rapidly as it is. I'm also proud to lead the charge on HR 1664, which is the Medal of Honor Monument Act through the House in July. That's the bill that would create a permanent monument in D.C., and this monument is going to pay homage to the values of the Medal of Honor that the Medal of Honor represents, which is courage, patriotism, citizenship, integrity, commitment, and sacrifice. This bill was passed with support of the Medal of Honor Museum, which is currently in the process of being constructed in the district that I represent across the street from TNT Stadium and Globe Life Field. Was very happy to work with my colleagues last week to also pass the bipartisan infrastructure framework, as well as continuing the process with Build Back Better. Both bills will provide help to our veterans, including skills training as vets transition from being active duty and helping upgrade VA facilities. And with that in hand, I'm going to turn it over to my good friend, Chairman Takano, and then I have some questions for you about what is going on in the veteran space. Chairman Takano.
Well, Representative Veasey, thank you so much for inviting me here today to share what we've been doing on the House Committee on Veterans Affairs to support our veterans this year. First off, I want to echo your celebratory note about Veterans Day being this week, November 11th. It harkens back to the First World War. It was originally Armistice Day, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. That's how I always remember Veterans Day. And I know there's an effort to celebrate Veterans Day or mark Veterans Day on Veterans Day. You know, regardless of whether it forms a 3-day holiday or not, it's given our veterans that respect to take a pause in our lives and to reflect on what their service has meant to all of us. I particularly want to take note that this is the year that we have withdrawn from Afghanistan. And so I know I want to extend a special thank you to all of our veterans who worked diligently to help their Afghan allies and former colleagues find safety. And we're also, climbing our way out of a pandemic. And I know that many veterans out there across the country have taken positions of leadership or are in positions of leadership, whether it's in elected office or just that they're just community leaders because of who they are, that they've played a special role in making sure that our communities have come together in this very, very trying time. So, our country's strength has always been through our diversity, and our veteran population is no exception. We owe it to all veterans to make sure that that all who've worn the uniform, regardless of gender identity, sexuality, race, or citizenship, have equitable access to the care and benefits they've earned. And the best way that we can honor our veterans is with action. And I'm proud to say that this year, the House Democrats have passed 27 bills through the House to do just that. We've passed another 18 bills through my committee, and I want to congratulate you on the work that you're doing on the medals, the recipients of medals, and the museum you're trying to create. That is a tremendous idea. But just know that I'll be bringing many of the 18 bills we passed in the committee to the floor of the House next week to mark Veterans Day. I'm determined that we do more than thank our veterans on Veterans Day, that we also match it with concrete action. And Congressman Veasey, I think you're doing your own action with the work you're doing with congressional medals.
Chairman, thank you very much. I really appreciate you mentioning that. I got very interested with Medal of Honor because of a book that I read a few years ago about veterans that fought during D-Day, and appreciate you recognizing that. And again, just all the work that you do for veterans. And we've had some area veterans here in Dallas-Fort Worth that has some questions for you. And I want to start off with some of the ones that were submitted and ask you, what do you think are some of the big wins for veterans in the American Rescue Plan?
Well, that's a great question. Also, I want to take note that your part of Texas, has a large concentration of veterans, and so does my part of California. In fact, our two states of Texas and California, we have the largest populations of veterans, are among the largest populations of veterans in the country. And the American Rescue Plan did so much to complement what we did in the CARES Act. But the American Rescue Plan, which we passed through Congress last March, one of the first things that we did when President Biden took office was to provide up to $18 billion for the Veterans Health Administration. It was to bolster VA's effort to adapt to demands of the pandemic. The way in which healthcare was delivered had to change to telemedicine. We had to reorient the way that we reached out to our veterans that needed mental health treatment, and clinicians. We did a lot of telehealth medicine in that regard. We played a support role to those parts of the country whose medical systems broke down, whether because we had COVID emergencies as well as weather emergencies. VA's fourth mission is that we also support the civilian healthcare systems. So there was a big chunk of money that went to the Veterans Health Administration. We also supported state veterans homes and upgrading their facilities. As you know, Congressman Veasey, some of the biggest tragedies happened at state-run veterans homes, and we needed to help those veterans homes upgrade their facilities and training and staffing. You mentioned already training veterans with skills. Many veterans lost their employment, as many Americans did during the pandemic, and we had a provision for rapid retraining of veterans in that bill, in the American Rescue Plan. We got behind in claims and appeals processing because the pandemic didn't allow people to come to work. People had to work from home. We had to really reorient and adjust, and medical exams got interfered with. So we really had to increase the amount of funding for claims and appeals processing. We did something very significant with regard to student veterans. We really reined in some of the worst actors in the for-profit college industry by closing the 9210 loophole. It was just shameful that we have veterans that were targeted by this for-profit industry that really consumed their GI Bills. And we did right by them. We also provided ways to assist veterans who are going to school by making sure they could stay in housing if their classes ended, and we made it possible for them to get credit for online classes that they had to now shift to because the in-person instruction ended.
Wow, yeah, that's really interesting, and I think very useful information. So if we start sort of moving forward a little bit till today, how will the Build Back Better agenda, sort of complement that and further help veterans?
Well, the veterans will benefit from what all Americans will benefit from generally. So the big part of Build Back Better is about universalizing childcare, universal access to childcare, universalizing pre-K, um, providing at least 4 weeks of paid leave. All of these provisions are going to help veterans, whether they're elderly veterans that depend on caregivers, whether they're younger veterans that have families. They need to be able to afford childcare as well, and so do their spouses. So let's get that out of the way. But let's look at specifically what is targeted toward veterans in Build Back Better. There's $5 billion targeted toward the VA. We have facilities across the country that date back to World War II, more than 50 years old. We simply can't deliver 21st century healthcare in buildings that were built in the middle of the 20th century. And so, half of that $5 billion, $2.5 billion, is going to be dedicated as a down payment on what we need to do to many medical facilities across the country, was to upgrade them. We also provide, as we upgrade these facilities, we still need more clinicians. There are still shortages of mental health care workers, psychiatrists, specialists, advanced practice nurses, social workers. So we provide up to 500, medical residency or professional residency slots for these various health professionals and clinicians. 3/4 of Americans agree that we need to upgrade our facilities, that our veterans deserve updated facilities. Also know that we have invested $150 million in digitizing veteran records so that we can process claims far more quickly than we did now. We got behind in claims processing, as I said, during the pandemic because of the slowdown and the change in work patterns. But be assured that we are preparing the VA for a more robust, more robust claims that are going to be coming in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And for the rest of this year, obviously we've had a very busy year. And with you being the chairman of the Veteran Affairs Committee, it's such an important. It's obviously again very key. What areas do you think are important to focus on, and what else do you see the committee really sort of pouring all of its energy into for the remainder of this year, and and for 2022 for the entire year?
Well, Congressman, we're gonna those 18 bills that we passed out of committee. Among them is a bill which would increase the number. Would authorize VA to not only give vaccinations for COVID, but while veterans are coming in to get their COVID vaccinations, they will also be able to get the flu vaccine. That's going to, the medical professionals say that can be done, but we passed the Save Lives Act earlier this year to make sure not only could veterans get the vaccine, but regardless of their eligibility for the VA, all veterans could get vaccinated at the VA, as well as their spouses and caregivers. That's kind of a big deal that VA has done that. But Mark, what I really want to talk to you about is our Honoring Our Pact Act, which will provide health care potentially to as many as 3.5 million toxic exposed veterans. This is our big toxic exposure bill, which will address what some people say is this generation's Agent Orange, which are the burn pits. The burn pits that many veterans, millions of veterans, were exposed to in Iraq and Afghanistan. We'll establish a presumption of connection, service connection to 23 respiratory illnesses and cancers. And we're going to reform the presumption decision-making process. This is a huge deal. I am determined that we do not repeat what happened to our Vietnam veterans as they were exposed to Agent Orange decades ago. They had to wait decades to get the medical care and benefits that they should have had much earlier. And Mark, I'm proud to say that I believe you're going to be part of something that is not only just and fair, but is urgent. As we leave, as we have withdrawn from Afghanistan, we cannot let the memory of that conflict and those wonders fade, so that we forget our obligations and promises that we have to keep to this generation of veterans. The other thing I want to mention is I continue to do work. My committee continues to do work in terms of mental health. We've got to continue to keep our eye on reducing death by suicide among our veterans. We have a number of bills that relate to mental health that are in our package of bills for the end of the year. We were paying attention to the increased sense of risk that we have from many of our veterans that were reacting to our withdrawal in Afghanistan. We need to make sure that we have the resources and the personnel to address those veterans as well. I think you're on mute, Mark.
Oh, sorry about that, Mark. Thank you very much. I had someone at the door here. What benefits are out there that you think are being underutilized? And that is, they work well, but not enough veterans are aware of them, because I have veterans ask me all the time when I'm here, like, can you help me with housing? Can you help me with health care? Can you help me get this sort of, like, what's out there that is that veterans probably don't know about? What's being underutilized? Could you go into detail on that?
Well, yeah. I'm gonna select one key new benefit, and it's called the Women's Health Transition Training. This Women's Health Transition Training was developed by the committee, by my Veterans Affairs Committee, and passed into law in the National Defense Authorization Act last Congress, which is the big bill that you work on the Armed Services Committee. And the whole goal of the Women's Health Transition Training is to make transitioning servicewomen aware of the health services made available to them. Servicewomen, when they leave the service, what we found is that women veterans don't often access the benefits that are owed to them and due to them and earned by them at the same rate as their male counterparts. And so one of the ways we wanted to fix this was to make sure that we made a training available to all women veterans as they're transitioning out of the military to learn about what specific VA services are available to them that are tailored to women, to women's unique needs, how to find the closest VA facility that offers the specific support to women veterans. And I just want to take this moment to encourage all transitioning service women to take advantage of this program.
Well, good, Mark. So I'm glad that people are taking advantage of the programs because that is definitely like one of the questions that I get often, and I think that it's very, very important that we get the information out there to the veterans as quickly as we can. At the very beginning of this year, we passed the Isaacson Rowe Veterans Health Care and Benefits Improvement Act of 2020, and I realized there were some changes to benefits in that bill. But how has implementation gone, and what were the positives of the bill?
Well, Isaacson Rowe made sweeping changes to support women veterans. It expanded benefits for homeless veterans. It strengthened veteran education benefits. It ensured that service members and veterans impacted by COVID-19 will be taken care of. Now, it also mandated additional oversight of how VA programs are monitored and administered by educational institutions. Now, we are at the very beginning stages of implementation. So, the jury is still out on how VA implements this bill because we're at the very beginning. But I'm very hopeful. On the education side, VA is working with schools to implement the bill, and we're excited that soon student veterans will have a shopping list for any school they wish to attend, which outlines costs, available classes, and what benefits they cover. Additionally, along with the education protections passed as part of the American Rescue Plan, Isaacson Rowe will eliminate predatory schools who have sought to defraud veterans of their earned benefits through more rigorous oversight. So, we're stepping up our game in terms of making sure veterans don't end up, using their GI Bill benefits or wasting their GI Bill benefits or being robbed of them because they've got taken in by an unscrupulous educational institution. So, so that's it on Isaacson Road, sir. You're still muted.
There we go. No, well, I really appreciate that very much because all of those questions are important. With all the veterans that we have here in Dallas-Fort Worth, and you know that just because of the sheer number that you have in the Southern California area. It's information like that that is very useful. And look, we encourage our veterans to, call our offices, and ask for help. Ask to start a casework file if you're having trouble getting questions answered from the VA, or if you're in the middle of your case being reviewed. I think that that it's really important that we just try to address as many of these issues as we can.
Well, Congressman, it never fails to amaze me that a lot of veterans don't know that their congressman is their ally and has caseworkers to help them specifically. And so they often don't think of that. And so, especially when there's a new congressman, they'd often know which congressman to go to. But let me say that members of Congress, I take pride in being able to have able and competent and well-trained caseworkers take your cases on. So get the word out there. Get the word out there. Your member of Congress is the place to go to shake up the system and get results.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And while we were talking there and answering questions, we got a question in that I wanted to read for you. And it just basically says, thank you so much for fighting the good fight on behalf of our nation's veterans and military families. It's greatly appreciated. And it says, as a veteran currently going to school overseas, I can confirm that many vets abroad are no longer able to use their GI Bill benefits at foreign schools. It goes on to say that we need your help, please. Please do everything in your power to pass legislation which reforms VA processes and improving education programs for vets at foreign schools. And thank you for holding this discussion online. Vets abroad are grateful for your service. Any thoughts on that, Mark? Any comments on
that? I was under the impression that veterans, so long as the schools met a certain level of accreditation, that GI Bill benefits were eligible. But you know what? If you could forward the name of that particular veteran, I will have my committee staff look into it, and I will have them get back in touch with that veteran about that, and we'll take a look at this issue.
Absolutely. No, we definitely will. And again, that's why we have these forums like this. And that's why I appreciate you taking the time to answer questions from DFW vets and anyone else that may be tuning in. We do these because we want people to ask questions. Sometimes we just need to clarify things. I thought that sort of nuance there that you made between the difference between schools that are accredited and not accredited, that it may be the case that they actually are eligible for some foreign schools as long as they're accredited is important, because sometimes people hear things overseas and things start moving around, and we need to make sure that we're getting people facts.
Well, Congressman Veasey, I do know that part of Isaacson Row, we're trying to tighten up the oversight to make sure that students are enrolled in schools that meet a certain standard, that the courses meet a certain standard, that the programs are somewhat that meet a certain standard. Every state in our union has a state a state entity which approves the programs. They're called SSAs. I mean, you don't need to. That's kind of more detail than people need to know. But we definitely wanted to support these state entities that review, all of the programs within a state. So I'm not real clear about how. I don't. This is kind of a novel issue for me. So as to how we approve programs for VA GI Bill use that are in foreign countries.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and we'll find that, and we'll get back with the person and let them know. I appreciate that, Mr. Chairman, for you tackling that, and look forward to actually having you in DFW in person. Once COVID gets a little bit better, and we're doing large in-person gatherings. We normally do this event in person. We switch between Dallas and Fort Worth every year and give awards out to local veterans here. We would certainly appreciate your presence here in the Dallas Fort Worth. We know that your chief of staff is a former DFW resident and grew up here. And we would certainly welcome both of you to the area to come and address veterans and be a part of that awards ceremony. And Chairman, in closing here, one of the things that people keep asking me about is the Medal of Honor legislation that we passed in the House already, that I was the lead author on. And I would like all the veterans to know that we did pass it out of the House unanimously. I believe it passed 416-0. And now it's over in the Senate. And hopefully the Senate will get to that soon or sometime before the end of the year, so we can get that in motion and honor our Medal of Honor recipients in the fashion that they deserve. So with that, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you and your staff and appreciate you answering questions, more importantly, for the many veterans that call Dallas-Fort Worth home. We appreciate the work that you do for veterans that are both here and living all over the world, for that matter, that need assistance with the VA and other military-related issues. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon there in California. And to everyone else that took the time to join us today, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Always an honor.